Hey guys, Dazzler Magic here, and oh boy, we got a doozy. Okay, so I was making a video about somebody getting blatantly caught cheating on camera over in a European tournament, and I was interrupted by somebody getting accused of cheating at RC Montreal. So if that right there, that statement, that sentence, this situation doesn't explain to you the state of competitive Magic ever since pretty much forever, then I can't help you. Fine, go to some stupid qualifier, get cheated, and waste your money and time. I've never been to one. I was interested in going to one until I just kept getting examples of why I shouldn't. And the examples are everybody's cheating. Or at least enough people are cheating that you ain't getting to the top 12, you know what I mean? You got liars, you got crooked judges, you got teams, you got like spying. They call it scouting. You've got time stallers, angle shooters. Just stay away. So this one's coming out of Montreal, and I have made my thoughts on this type of thing very clear. This one's not as clear cut. So I'll inject my opinion here, but somebody named Junpai Lin put this on Reddit, and they opened it with, "This was the case last weekend at RC Montreal." I legitimately don't know what RC stands for, but I guess they're qualifying for the PT, so it's like whatever that is. The story was relayed on Twitter by Patrick Wu, who asked a number of different eyewitnesses and collected the stories to question the person that caused the incident, Eduardo, who did not deny his description. So he is not refuting what happened. Oh, and this is Eduardo Sajgalik, I believe it is. And his opponent in the match in question was Brian Bonnell. Two L's. Might be Bonnell. I don't know. Probably be calling them Brian and Ed. So Brian's a fairly new player. Ed's a longtime pro player. He's got all kinds of sponsorships and literally makes money playing Magic. So guess which one cheated? Go ahead, guess. It's almost like we already know the answer. Come on, guys. It was me. I snuck into Canada dressed as a judge, which I assume at these tournaments at this point would just be putting on a dress. And I cheated them both. Ha 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 ha. Nah, I was a pro player. And let me just say, I kind of skimmed this to see what was going on. This goes deep, okay? Whatever direction you think this is going, it's not. You got to listen to the end of this thing because it gets nuts. So this RC had a total of 13 Swiss rounds, which works a little differently than might be used to. 12 PT spots, okay? Top 12 players, Pro Tour, instant in. So in the final round, the two parties, Brian and Ed, met in battle. The qualification competition is fierce, basically. Who wins gets the PT qualification, and who loses has only the consolation prize. Let me just scroll down here. Ed actually posted the consolation prize. It's Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, some kind of like funny looking kind of cool art, borderless, foil. I didn't even look it up. It can't be that much. Not as good as a PT qual, let's call it that. So at the top table, a draw means that they are both out. So you don't want that to happen. Good thing they just played it out like fair player. Hell no, they didn't. Okay, guys, no secret if you've been watching my channel long enough. Play it out. And let me just also reiterate, at some Magic tournaments and in some official Magic rules, certain types of agreements are not allowed. Anything that involves like something that could be considered bribery or like buying a spot or compensation for forfeiting, not allowed. I don't think they did that. This is about as gray area as this type of thing can get. So I'm a little on the fence even with what went down right up until what happened at the end. I'm not okay with that. So unsurprisingly, they decided on whoever has the strongest board state. Or well, I should say, okay, so if it comes to a tie, so 1 win, 1 loss, and then third game, and then you go to time, or just one really long game, which in that case, what deck did you actually bring? Come on. How slow are you playing? Like, come on. So the way they put it was the player behind on board would concede, and they both agreed to that before the match started. Ed, the pro player, brought it up. Brian did not bring it up, probably didn't even think of it. If you're new to the scene and it's like the 13th round, or whatever, yeah. Here's the problem with this. Never, ever, ever make that type of agreement, okay? Especially with a known pro player who is probably angle shooting their ass off. If I know it's 1-1 and I know it's been about 30, 40 minutes, I'm just going to play hyper conservative. I'm not going to swing when I'm supposed to swing. I'm going to make my board look better. I'm going to make my life total look better. Because then when it goes to time, I'll say, oh, I got the stronger board. Even if you just say life total, that doesn't work. You got to do something with a metric. First of all, it can't be left to opinion. We're like, well, I think my board's like 55%, yours is 45%. Like, nah, you're undervaluing this. Oh, and it just turns into a whole thing. I guess if it's match 3, whoever won match 1 or 2 in the least amount of turns, maybe? If somebody offers you that, they're playing red. There's almost no way to do this other than flip a coin. And in fact, if you say, okay, coin flip or whatever, die roll, whatever you do to see who goes first in the beginning of the round, whoever wins that wins the tiebreaker. I've heard of that. Guess what? That person's going to slow play, stall out the game, and purposely make game 3 go to time by never swinging and driving up the life total and playing hyper control instead of playing aggressive creatures, if that's what their deck does. There's no way to do this. You can't make this work. You are being swindled if you agree to a pro player proposing this. Now, is it smart to just say, well, I guess we both go down in flames when we could just find a way to work this out and have one of us go to the PT? No, you couldn't complete the game. It was too close. So let the next person under you that did complete the game go. Like that's how the tournament should work. You both should go down in flames. But assuming it's not against the tournament rules, I kind of get the strategy here. I get the logic, like why waste the opportunity? But basing on board state is stupid. So it all devolved into an argument about board state, right? No, it actually didn't. I told you, you're not going to know where this is going. However scummy you think that lifetime pro players are, you're underestimating it. So their game went to time. Who would have thought? And Eduardo's board was very behind. Brian, the new guy, his deck, which they put was blue-white control, then crossed it off and put domain ramp. Whatever helped you sleep at night. People get really touchy about, getting accused of running dickish decks, I guess. So with full control of the board, he could diminish Ed's life total in 3 to 4 turns. This is very clear to both sides. As agreed upon, Edward should surrender and let Brian qualify for the PT. However, things changed. The game at the table next to them also went to time. So I guess I don't see the math behind this, but I'm not that familiar with Swiss tournaments. So the Reddit post account that I am reading from right now says this means that if there is an extra draw at the top tables, then one person is likely, but not guaranteed, likely to make the top 12 to qualify via a draw. So your draw, the table next to you's draw, and then one more draw, and then you have a chance to get in, I guess. So one of you. Probably a tie and then strength of opponent, I guess is what it would be, because effectively a tie is a loss. You go to number of wins, and then you go to ties, and then from ties it would be strength of opponent, I believe. So yeah, they're not wrong, actually. Well, that changes things. So guess what Ed did? He changed things. And it has been confirmed, allegedly, that Ed had a higher tiebreaker. Already knew that he had a higher, strength of opponent or whatever, than Brian. So Ed reneged on his promise, refusing to honor his offer to surrender, instead choosing to draw with his opponent Brian. The drama occurred. The players at the next table who went to time, they also know how points are calculated, and they also know that a tie may result in neither of them getting in. So they made a similar agreement. Wow, guys, it's almost like not playing it out mathematically the way that the tournament was designed might cause some kind of conflicts, oddities, and problems. Maybe you should just play the damn game out. If you can't finish somebody off 2-0 or 2-1, then you don't deserve to be there. Your deck's not good enough. I mean, yeah, the time is the factor. With unlimited time, maybe your deck is the better deck and you're getting screwed. But at the end of the day, you played slow enough, or your opponent played slow enough and you didn't call a judge, or your deck is just too damn slow to be at a tournament, and that's your own damn fault, okay? So Ed knew he was out, he knew what the agreement was, but he also knew that the table next to him made that agreement. I guess they talked. And he thought, oh, so if I go with the agreement that we made, I'm going to be out, but I could tell him, hey, wait a minute, there's a second tie, possibly a third tie, so let's not do that. I didn't think of that. We didn't consider that. Let's just go back to playing normally. Except that the table next to him, I guess they catch word eventually. I don't know who knew what when. They made a similar agreement to not, actually report what actually happened. And so now he's like, okay, well, no, then you're not going to get in, so forfeit, like you said you would. You have to concede because they're not going to do it. That means there's not going to be 6 ties, so let's go. It's implied that the people at the table next to them knew that their tiebreaker points or whatever, their tiebreaker, some stat, was lower than Ed's. So if they reported a tie, then they both were guaranteed to lose to him if there was another tie. And I might be misinterpreting that because my understanding vaguely is that you'd only need 4, not 6, but I don't know. I haven't seen the full breakdown. That might have been what it was, is it was just those 4. and they were sitting next to each other, which means they have knowledge outside the game, outside of their agreement. That's, is that allowed? Where you sit and how much you listen to the people next to you should not be a factor in who wins a Magic tournament. See, we're drifting a little further outside the rules. You take one step outside the rules and you end up way outside the rules, and then some drama happens and your name gets dragged online. So how about you just play the damn thing out? Or have a hard agreement that says we're going to roll our D20s, highest number goes. There you go. And then ask a judge before you even start the round, is that allowed at this tournament, or would that be considered rigging it? Should we just both go down with the ship like honorable men? So the other tie table, somebody surrendered based on whatever agreement they had, and they send one of them to the PT qualifications. And because of this, there was no tie at that table. Ed and Brian both did not make the top 12 via a draw, and Ed finished 13th. I assume Brian then probably finished 14th or a little bit lower. So they ended up reporting a draw. Ed reported that he was 7-0-1. So I guess it says 13 Swiss rounds, and that equals 8. Like I said, Swiss. I have a vague idea how it works, but he later tweeted that out, and he's like, oh man, yeah, that sucks. Paraphrased, of course. Guess who blew the whistle on this? A bystander, a very angry bystander, somebody who apparently shares my outlook on, can you just play the damn game straight, you stupid angle shooting pro douchebags. Basically, he ended up going off like, wow, you just deprived a brand new player of playing in the PT, and then complained on Twitter about, 13th out of 12, wah. And the community absolutely torched him, which that is shocking. So Patrick Wu, you remember him from the beginning of this video, he says, I'm sorry, but how do you have the audacity to post this after you basically screwed your opponent out of the top 8, after you both agreed to terms if it ended in a draw? Do you have absolutely no remorse? Oh, vicious. And if you think about it, that is pretty much what happened. The way I understand it, Brian's strength of opponent would have been the highest. So if they reported no tie, and then the other game reported no tie, then Brian beat Ed, who had a stronger tiebreaker against him himself. So in theory, he was the strongest out of all of them, and then Brian would have beat all of them and gotten the 12th spot. Just to fill you in with my theory on that. So people went ballistic. I am speechless over that, because I would have thought 75% of people would have been like, oh no, that's what they did. And then there was additional information. And then they went back to playing fair with the additional information. Like, I get it. Let's not jump all over them. I get how it looks, but let's not jump all over them. That has been the overwhelming majority opinion that I've heard over the last 10 years. There has been a lot of, you need the points and I don't, so how about you forfeit and maybe I'll throw something your way. And then people are like, okay, but that's bribery. Okay, that goes a little far, but everything short of that, there's been like, no, that's just smart. That's just smart play. Why would you be just because of one little game result, not let the best outcome happen, the quote unquote best? That's all I've ever been hearing from people. So Andy Awkward, he tweeted out. So somebody named Andy Awkward on Twitter, I actually have no idea who this is, tweeted out, hypothetical, winning in for top 8, you make an agreement and then you go back on it. Like, do you think you're a scumbag? And LSV, of course, who is he is the definition of a scumbag. He's a terrible human being inside and outside of the game. First reply, extremely poor behavior. Did this happen? To which Andy replied, yes, it was brutal. And then somebody else replied, obviously. And then Andy says it wasn't me. It was a former pro. Former pro? That's the first time I've heard that description. I kind of want to know where that came from. That's kind of funny. Who absolutely should know better. And then Patrick came in to explain, just FYI, the difference in 13th versus 12th space is $500 US and a Valakut foil. Ouch. This is absolutely disgusting behavior to break your integrity for about $1,000. Oh, no way that Valakut's worth $500. I'm going to look it up now. No way. It's a secret layer reprint that doesn't even designate that you're at a tournament. So, yeah, looking at about $55. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that don't add up. But 500 US cash will probably get you to the damn PT. Jeez. Like, literally, travel expenses. So whether or not this was a good idea, I'll leave that up to you guys in the comment section. I'm sure you guys got all kinds of comments on this. Eduardo tweets out, I reached out to my round 13th opponent in Montreal, Brian, to apologize. I take responsibility for the decisions I made in that match. If I were him and I was playing straight, like if I know I did something, I was angle shooting, I was mad that I didn't qualify, and I was like, maybe this one little circumstance will get me in. Let's both put down a draw. Oh crap, the people next to us didn't do that. I just cost him the 12th spot. Yeah, then I would have posted that apology. If it was just like, hey, more information came out where if we also reported a draw, then the tournament could proceed as normal and we wouldn't both necessarily be penalized. So yes, it was in my favor, but I just wanted to play it straight. That's what I would have posted if that was true. So the fact that he posted, haha, my bad, I think he knew that other table didn't go to draw. I think he saw what they wrote down and they reported before him or something. That's the one factor that I want to know. I want to know that particular detail because that makes a big difference. But for him to come out on Twitter and be like, either, oh, people are mad and I better get out ahead of this because they're going to find out it was me, or he's just like, no, I know what I did. I was just mad that I got 13th. I know what I did. But see, if he already knew that they were reporting a non-draw because they were sitting right next to him, why would he even try? I wouldn't even call that a 1% chance of getting to the PT. It's 0. You knew what their agreement was. You maybe even saw what they wrote down. Why would you even try? That doesn't make sense. So I'd like to think that he didn't know that that other table went to time. In which case, it at least could have been passed off as not malicious. Like, he could have came out and said, well, this just looks bad. I see how it looks, but that wasn't my intention. So sorry, won't do it again, even though he will. He does go on to say, I will no longer engage with concessions or conversations of these with my Magic tournament matches. Good. I'm wondering if he's saying that because it's completely against tournament rules, except that both of them did it, him and the other table, but okay. He says, except with teammates of that event. Oh, so as long as they're on your little pro team, then you're gonna angle shoot. Okay, that's even more fair. Wait, no, that's worse. What the hell are you doing? Shut up, Ed. That is like so much worse. That is like, I showed up on a team and I've got a higher chance to win because I send them around scouting and I know what my opponents are running before the match. And then people who show up by themselves who are more talented than me, they don't have a secret intelligence network telling everybody what everybody else is running. So they have a round one disadvantage. Like, I hate teams. There shouldn't be teams. There are no teams. This is not a team event. The only reason to be on a quote-unquote team is to do these like, maneuver, if I do this and you do that, then you get this many points and that benefits us both. Okay, let's do that. Shake. Done. Like, there should not be teams. Anybody caught on a quote-unquote team like this should be permanently suspended from the tournament and warned to never do it again. You want to play in a team, go to a team event, jackass. I am not aware of any that exist, so how about just don't team up? How about that? So his third tweet is, you are welcome to reach out to me via DM here, Discord, or elsewhere, or in person at events. I wouldn't recommend it. I do not mind engaging in voice on Discord if you prefer. Now, the Reddit post goes on to say his quote-unquote apology was so ingenuine that nobody is buying it. Ooh, that's very opinionated, but I mean, I'll take his account of... okay, if this is relayed onto Reddit from somebody who's basically reposting Patrick Wu on his behalf or whatever to let people know about it, and Patrick's first initial reaction to this before even knowing who was involved was to go turbo angry mode, I feel like that might be a little biased. Just throwing that out there. So, Patrick comes out and posts this, I don't know, twit longer, whatever the hell they are. X longer, extra, XXL. That's what it should be called. Anyway, your apologies do not seem genuine with how you're presenting yourself. He presented himself as I knew what I was doing. This was stupid, and I messed up, and I won't do it again. Like, what do you mean? Anyway, I originally saw your first tweet and thought, finally, a long overdue apology. We can all move on. I thought you finally realized what you did wrong and made amends with Brian. Then I read your other comments. I am not trying to continuously add fuel to the fire, but after reading your additional comments to your post, it really just shows you do not understand the real reason why people are angry. Is he talking about the team thing? Anyway, it took you nearly 48 hours to come up with an apology that simply doesn't make sense. It makes me think that you are not genuinely sorry. I don't know how he got all that from like 2 sentences. This feels a little like he's going off, but maybe he has more information than I do from just this account of it, because a lot of this got wiped and stuff. Sounds like you're just sorry that you got caught and called out. One, you deflect and basically say that concessions are not a good thing for the game and shouldn't be allowed, as this is a factor behind why you made such a heinous decision. But then you also say that you will engage in concessions and conversations with teammates. Oh, you know who else got really mad when they heard that tweet? Me. Like a minute ago. Okay, maybe we are more on the same page. All right, I'll hear him out. I'll hear out Patrick before I, run you over with the bus here. So you're implying that it's okay if you know your opponent? This all doesn't make sense. Your opinion on whether you think concessions should be allowed or not isn't relevant. It is the fact that you failed to keep your word and with how you are portraying the situation. He has a point. He never brought up, I thought information changed that was relevant to us not both losing, so I wanted to play it out normally. That sentence, missing from any of his explanations, that kind of does imply, due to lack of it being there with just its very absence, that he is indeed only unhappy that he got caught. So he says, you failed to keep your word on how you're portraying the situation. You do not seem to be realizing that this is the essential problem. You broke a social contract with your opponent. It is irrelevant whether you knew your opponent or not. It is irrelevant whether you think it is healthy for the game or not. The only thing that is relevant is that you both agreed on the terms and you went back on your word. This is not strictly limited to MTG. What you did was vile as a human being. Oh, for God's sake, calm down, drama queen. You showed a lack of empathy towards another human being. Oh my God. And this is further emphasized when you posted about the Valakut. Number 2, their problem number 2. You mentioned it was harmful, but I feel like you are only thinking that it was harmful to you and your reputation. You did not show any empathy towards Brian. I think he did. With any of your statements, you do not emphasize that you essentially prevented someone's dream of finally going to a pro tour because of your terrible decision. Everything you said was about you and what you think about the current system. Okay, so this is where it goes a little off the rails. If you're making an apology, make it brief. Make it as brief as possible. Look at any statement by Watsy after something happens as 2 sentences, okay? I don't think Ed hired a PR firm, but some people just know this after this amount of time. Or got advice from somebody who does know. Some family member, some person who works in a place who knows how to phrase stuff. Short and sweet, don't get dramatic, don't throw yourself under the bus too hard, and don't admit to anything past what they think you did. I mean, that's just apology 101. So I think number 2 is reaching. I'm going to kind of skip it. So number 3, you say you want to make things right, but I highly doubt that you even tried to offer compensation in any form to Brian to show that you are genuinely remorseful. Well, what could you give him that would equal a PT thing? And pro players are all about, pinching them pennies because they don't make that much money. Any little sponsorship is maybe worth $500 to $2,000, I would estimate. I mean, the fact that I've never heard of them, just saying, you'd probably get $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 sponsorships and lots of prize money if you, if your name's Fabrizio Antares, for example, and you spent your entire career cheating to get to the top and win multiples, and then they're like, whoa, this guy's the best. We want to put our whatever logo on his jersey. Whoa. That's when you start raking in the dollars. So you really got to be a big-time, consistent, lifelong cheater to ensure that you get into the top that artificially, suspiciously often. So Ed doesn't seem to have been at that level necessarily. Maybe he was. I don't know. I don't follow too many pros. Let me know. Does he have a bad reputation outside of this? That's another thing I couldn't find through any kind of research. It's just kind of one of those word of mouth things from people who give a shit about these tournaments, which I don't. So the Reddit poster, just after posting what Patrick had put on Twitter, he says, I agree with everything Patrick Wu said. Eduardo's apology read, I won't make a deal like this again unless it's somebody I know, my teammates. What kind of apology is that? Isn't everybody mad because you made the deal? The point of everyone's anger is that you made such an agreement, but then you don't honor the agreement and you take the initiative to break the agreement for your own benefit. Yeah, those really are the 3 points. Don't make it in the first place. If you're going to make it, at least stick to it. And then third, you didn't apologize completely for not sticking to it, which, let me just reread, okay? I reached out to Brian to apologize. That was the first sentence. Oh, it's all about you. No, that's the first sentence, guys. I take issue with the rest of the stuff he wrote, but I think you just really don't like him. Sounds like it might be a little bit of jealousy, little wannabe, little I want to be a pro player too, but I'm not good enough. Just saying, just throwing that out there as a possibility, maybe. I don't know these people. Well, back there was 5 or 6 like-minded, we'll say, MTG creators in a little Discord group. I was in it. And I brought up, did you guys notice that every time somebody leaves a hyper angry, over-the-top critical comment on one of our channels, if you click on them, they uploaded 5 Magic the Gathering videos that are all awful like two years ago, and ever since all they've done is leave comments on other people's successful channels because they're so mad that it couldn't have been them and they weren't good enough, that the only way they justify it in their mind is, well, if I'm not good enough, this joker making this one mistake, this tiny little editing mistake, he didn't phrase this the way I would have. Oh, how come he gets to be successful and I don't? You don't need to read between the lines much, trust me. And every single other person posted, yes, I did realize that, except for like 2 people who were like, I'm going to start doing that. They had like a collection of angry comments. And they started clicking on them. They're like, oh my God, you're right. It's all failed MTG YouTubers who are sitting there whining about one little tiny mistake or one little preference that they demand that I change in my editing, because that's the only way that they could say that this person is better than me and they succeeded where I didn't, is if they do it exactly like I would have done it, but better. What a sad, angry, entitled, shortcut-taking, unqualified dick these people are. I cannot stress that enough. I have banned so many people like that. I don't want to hear, okay? Just get over your little complex about how you wanted to be rich and famous but didn't want to work hard enough to get there, okay? Look at my early content, the stuff I didn't even delete. It's shit. It's garbage, okay? And I came from the content creation world, and I had a huge background in audio and video editing, and I still took about 50 videos to get good at all. And it wasn't just an equipment thing. It was an editing thing. It was a style thing. It's really, with most people, it's an effort thing. Oh, I already put 2 hours of reshoots and editing into this. I'm just going to upload it. Wrong. Wrong. Do you think your commenters, your viewers are going to give you that much leeway, or they're just going to leave the video and never watch your channel ever again? Whatever you think is good enough is not good enough until it is good enough, okay? It better be on par with YouTube's average quality. If they don't like your mic, your voice, your editing, your topic, your phrasing, your accent, they're gone. Some of those things you can control, some you can't. You're either good enough or you're not. And if you do one take and go, I don't want to reshoot this one sentence. Yeah, I made an editing mistake, but I don't want to re-encode the whole video. I don't even want to watch my video one time through before uploading it. I already put 2 or 3 hours of work into this. Okay, some of my better videos have like 2 days of work in it. So just a message to all you aspiring creators out there who just want money and fame and you don't want to do the work to get there. Boo-hoo, world's smallest violin. Have fun not succeeding in your career, no matter what you do, because you're a marshmallow test failure. Look it up. Oh, and some corrections at the bottom of the post here. Brian actually legitimately was playing domain ramp, not blue-white control, so that's why he did a strike through on the edit, so that you know that he didn't stealth edit it. That's a proper Redditor right there. So he wasn't just trying to reclassify it as like, no, Brian considers it to not be control, even though it clearly is. No, he was actually playing a completely different deck. Allegedly. And the source on a lot of this, besides being Patrick Wu, was somebody else named Mr. Joe Norm on Reddit, who I guess was standing 3 feet away from them when all this went down. Based on his comments, he seems a little mad too. So, without being there, without additional information, without some clarifications, was Ed angle shooting? Was he just like, oh, I've got like a 25% chance, a 50% chance, some percent chance of getting in if I go back on my agreement because I overheard that they just went to time. And I don't know if they're going to report that the tie happened or if they're smart enough, in his opinion, to not do that. So I have the tiniest shot of still making it, so let's go back to the normal tournament rules. And that's the thing is, all he wanted to do was go back to the normal tournament rules. None of this like gentleman agreement crap that's completely outside the rules and may or may not be legal at the tournament. That's the other factor. Was the offer even legal? The fact that 2 teams did it, I'm going to guess probably is, but then again, people cheat at these all the time and make all kinds of agreements. There's illegal prize splits all the time. I did find, after some serious control F on Reddit looking for certain keywords, somebody said, and I quote, I was there for a couple hours Sunday and I heard an announcement over the speakers warning about deals like that. I don't think the official rules forbid them. Only deciding a game based on external games of chance is illegal? Oh, so you can't flip a coin. Oh, okay. And then he puts, I think, question mark. See, nobody knows the rule on this. So I guess it was probably more of a suggestion after this happened. So this was already blowing up when it was blowing up, and then they made an announcement not to do it. Sounds like the tournament organizers needed to clarify this. There's another rumor floating around that Ed had posted in some private discords that he thinks he did nothing wrong. So either he's even more of a dick, or he just really wanted to go back to normal rules because he thought that the agreement was null and void, even though it benefited him, obviously, because another table had tied and they knew it. So now he's like, oh, I could still get in. Let's take this, it's no longer necessary to honor the agreement. He had to have known that that favored him, though. So it's like, I don't know. That could be just him justifying it, or he could legitimately think, no, I corrected it because I didn't think of that happening. But then he's been in the pro play long enough that he should know that that could happen. Was that the plan all along? And remember, Ed was the one who brought it up. And then it seems like the tournament people were not happy that deals like this were going on. That was the first they heard about it or something. Come on, really? Other people are saying he's notoriously a complete piece of shit. They say, I'm glad he's no longer part of the UK Magic scene. What, now he plays exclusively in Canada? Is that what's up? Wow. He's one of two people that genuinely made me feel like shit when taking part in a tournament. It had nothing to do with the game. Another person came back with, I had one interaction with him and he seemed fine. And then the original poster here comes back to say, it would have been impressive if he is an asshole all the time. I didn't think that's where that sentence was going. My experience was as follows. I played my first PTQ ever, did somewhat well, and after the last round, I was chatting to my opponent, telling him how I was happy with how it went, considering it was the first competitive event I ever played in, and getting prizes is a good result. Definitely. See, that's like a lot of poker people have that opponent, or that outlook. I need some sleep. I found out later, after talking to other people, that one of his friends barely missed out on top 8 on tiebreakers, and it was one of the guys that I played during the event. I even lost to him. The very next PTQ I went to, I was handed an extremely powerful sealed pool from a well-known person within the MTG community, and wait, what? And after starting off really well, and since it was the pool he registered, he would check up on me and encourage me. That cannot possibly be within the rules. I ended up losing out and finished something like 5-3. And with every loss, I was berated for misbuilding and not being good enough to pilot that pool. I was done with PTQs after that and just stuck to drafting at my university and playing pre-releases at my LGS, which was an incredible experience. Those two events in relatively quick succession really put me off playing competitive Magic for a very long time. It was a really shit experience for a 19-year-old who was excited to play Magic, as I grew up in a country with very little Magic, let alone competitive events. So the first story involved Ed and the second one didn't? You can trade pools? He said he registered it in his name. What? You can just hand somebody a pool, say, I opened one and entered and then forfeited? Why would you not play it out? Do you not need the points? Or like, what? Okay, if you ask me, this person's an asshole. What? How is that allowed? Please, somebody, for the love of God, tell me that is not actually allowed within the rules. Where you can just open a God tier pool, show up with the team, and then say, okay, we're giving the best player the best pool. Oh, look at that. Oh, he made it to the end. I wonder how that could have happened, huh? We all know that, according to some accounts, 1 in 3 people are adding cards to their pools anyway to cheat. So, just saying. So to try to give him like a pool to cheat with effectively, like here's way better of one ever. Ooh, look at me just looking out for you being nice. Then they go back on it when he starts losing, well, 5-3, but still, and saying that he's not good enough to pilot it and he made tons of mistakes. Wow. If any of that is true, I take so much issue with so much of that and everybody on all sides. All I could say is don't show up to any of these events. They're all trash. Everybody's doing crap like this. So a lot of people are pointing out that the generally accepted rules are you're not allowed to make concessions based on random chance. So die rolls, coin flips, even though to me that seemed the most fair. It's the least fair to everybody but you two. Everybody else in the tournament, so okay, I get it. But if that's the rules, then that's the rules. Okay, I take that back. So there is no fair way to do this, but they say also it's forbidden to look at cards which were hidden when the match ended. You are allowed to agree that whoever was behind based on the board state at the end of the 5th extra turn will concede. Okay, so I thought only my LGS did the 5 extra turns thing. I thought we invented the term goes to turns. All right, learn something new every day after playing for like 11 years. So you can't like flip cards off the top of your library, somebody said, to see what you would have drawn and then kind of play it out in your head and then go. You've got to go either board state or just take the damn draw. I could see if somebody was like 2 turns away from getting absolutely obliterated and they're going to sit there and say, yeah, but we went to turns and I was the one playing slow. Oops. Oh, well, I guess we're going to have to write down a draw. Taking you down with me. That would be a bit of a dick move, but, you know, if they're playing too slowly, then call a judge, which takes time, unfortunately. So, but still, they'll give them a warning and they'll stand behind them, and then that solves the problem unless they're running a horribly slow deck. You ain't gonna make no friends doing that, but it prevents situations like this. So apparently, like, yeah, people have been DQ'd for saying the wrong thing. You got to be really careful how you word it, but people are generally saying that this type of thing was allowed, but like nobody said this was part of the official rules. It's just not against the rules. So that means that the rules aren't going to come in and say, no, actually, Ed has to honor that agreement. Like, you'd have to register it with like a judge that, hey, we agreed on this. And like, okay, we'll write that down. Otherwise, what if your opponent says, we agreed on this? And you go, no, we didn't. Well, then what? Oh, and somebody did post some kind of IPG 4.3 rule that basically says, oh no, we're going to go to a draw and that's bad for us. If only there was something we could do about it, wink, wink, that is against the rules. But then it says, if a player asks their opponent to concede because they have an overwhelming board position when time is called, that is a specific exception that is not considered improperly determining a winner. Nowhere in there do they say anything about making that agreement at the start of the round. Now, was it the start of the round? Was it the start of game 2? Was it the start of game 3? And you already know 40 minutes had ticked by? They don't actually specify that very specifically. What I don't agree with is Rule 5.2, which does say that players can make use of information regarding other matches or game scores at other tables to make this agreement. That is bullshit. They need to get rid of that. But guys, it's cool. Players are not allowed to leave their seats during their match or go to great lengths to obtain this information. So, what? What kind of bullshit rule is that? Oh, as long as from where you were sitting and your hearing ability, of course, coming from me, I'm extra pissed about that because I am basically deaf in my right ear. It's a condition that comes and goes. It's really complicated. I need a surgery. I just don't want to get it. I wouldn't be able to hear what's happening to the right of me. An autistic person with sensory issues, which is not me, but I think you guys know what I'm referring to. Another recent video where that became a problem. They aren't going to be able to concentrate on 50 different matches going on at once and try to overhear, or they will, because if it's not enough to overwhelm them, then they are forced to focus on everything going around them. That's how that works. Very ableist of you, Watsy, to write that kind of rule in that you're not allowed to leave your seats or go to great lengths, but as long as you kind of overheard it or stopped paying attention to your own match, which is now going to time and tying. I wonder why that could be. Maybe your brain wasn't in the game and you're looking at what's happening around you. And then hand signals. There was this whole thing like 8 years ago on hand signals. Team Channel Fireball was accused of doing it. And by accused, I mean they did do that clearly. And then they just like gave them a warning. And the hand signal was like, I think basically your opponent is running this type of deck. So they already had that ahead of time. And then they're like, well, it's not in the rules that we can't do it. And by the way, it's still not in the rules. You can't do that. Although, would that be considered, quote, great lengths? Well, they let you show up on a team. So my guess is no. But teams are constantly cheating in angle shooting. So maybe yes. I don't know. This whole thing is just bullshit. Okay, so can we go back to my point? Can we just play the matches out? Can we just play the matches out? If you tie, you tie. You weren't good enough. You weren't fast enough. Your deck wasn't good enough. Okay, piss off. Take the loss. Let the rankings be the rankings. Let the natural order take its course. Okay, this is ridiculous. So just kind of speed reading through the comments, a lot of people have the sentiment of all of this little agreement behind the scenes crap needs to be banned outright completely across the board in any way, shape, or form. And let me just end on Snurp's comment. Pro, quote-unquote, magic is f***ing embarrassing. Couldn't agree more with you there, Snurp. So what do you think of this situation? I mean, I'm back on team play it out. Why both go down with the ship if we don't have to? But the board state thing, I think they're really stretching the board state rule. And remember, the actual rule, if you didn't catch that, I didn't outline this because I thought it was obvious, but I'm going to revisit this real quick. When the match goes to time, in other words, when it goes to turns, then you can agree that somebody could conceivably agree to concede if their board state is like one turn away from being obliterated. You could say, okay, if we kept this going for one more turn, if we would have played 1 minute faster, I would have been obliterated, so I'm going to do the right thing and concede. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. And I think that's why the rules say that, you know what, in that exact circumstance where it's very clear who the winner would have been, and you're like, oh, but time though, if only we could do something about that, just say, okay, I would have lost. I'll just give you the win. I clearly would have lost. And it sounds like it was pretty much a 3 to 4 turn blowout when they went to turns in this particular case. So if the agreement was made at the very start of the round or the agreement was made after they were 1-1, I think that's a little early. That's way too early to start talking that stuff. And that's what it sounded like happened. They did not bring it up when it went to times and they were going to turns. Unless that little detail was left out completely. And that would change everything. I think Edward would be a lot less in the wrong, but we got one account of being a terrible person. I've got a million accounts of every pro player being a terrible person. So to me, it was using a technicality to try to convince a new player to go back on something because of extenuating circumstances. You got two conflicting rules, sort of, but it benefited him, and that's why he pushed it. And then he didn't really sound that sorry. He did it. He says he reached out and apologized. Great. Anybody can apologize for anything. It doesn't even mean they're sorry. I very rarely accept apologies unless I have actual evidence and actions that you are sorry. Because otherwise, sorry is just a magic go-away wand that you wave and ta-da, I made everything better and I can continue to be a terrible person and just not get caught next time. No. I don't accept most apologies, and you shouldn't either. Actions are how you apologize. All I care is that you're better, okay? I've probably already forgiven you. It's just I'm not going to accept your apology if you're saying it because you want a magic go-away word. And I don't know. Haven't heard from Brian on this, so no side of the story there. So don't play competitive Magic and scrutinize the hell out of your opponent, and don't fall for any of their little tricks if they're wearing like an esports jersey or you've heard their name before. Both of those are a very bad sign, okay? If they're wearing a Packers jersey and eating a cheeseburger and half paying attention to the match and just saying, I'm probably going to lose anyway, you're probably playing against me. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.